These are my thoughts on the recent nuclear event at the Pickering nuclear power plant. There was an alert. This has been reported. This was on, today is Sunday, so I think it was on Monday or Tuesday. No, on Sunday. There was an alert a week ago. People have commented on this. This is out there, and it was excused as an error of judgment by one of the anxious nuclear workers who is obliged to let the public know through an alert when something goes wrong. And oh no, this guy was a flake, he made a mistake. All right, these are my thoughts on this. In fact, it was an event, and I'm going to attach Durnford's presentation on this event. His analysis, again, superb. I like what he's talking about. He's saying there are fail-safes to prevent anything from happening in terms of even the alerts. Never mind all the supposed fail-safes that prevent all this toxic material from the nuclear plant to be expunged into the to be thrown into the environment. Dangerous materials. Anyway, my thought on this: that something did happen that was serious, and it was, as usual, this industry is a death culture. This is a cult. This is a death cult operating right under our noses, and they're continuing. And this is of more interest to me, how it is that they're able to continue what they do. But in my opinion, this was a real alert, and it was just shoved under the table. And as Durnford said, there has been no follow-up by a credible researcher, by a credible scientist, a nuclear scientist. Just PR firms come out and say, no, don't, go away, nothing to see here, mistake. This is not, in fact, true, as far as I'm concerned. This is just a litany of misdeeds by this nuclear death cult that has no interest in our well-being or the environment. Again, there's people say, well, they're just greedy. Yes, of course, but I think underneath this greed is another element, which I am inclined greatly towards the idea that we're in a very dark time at this point, where extinction is happening, and more importantly to me, extermination, which is extinction by intent, is also part of a larger strategy. This is what I've concluded based on all the destruction that we see around us. And why is this occurring? Now, for me, I want to just create a bit of a context why I think this is happening the way it's happening. What I always say I do. I've shifted away from a fact information type of person, which I really never was. I don't have any great attachments to facts and information. I'm more on the side of experience, and experience is not just in terms of something that you know you want to do. Like a fact or information is something that you, what is it? Okay, what is this? Fact and information are things that you consciously are paying attention to. Whereas in my understanding of the cosmos, the things that happen to us apparently randomly, or we don't really have any control over it, are the things that matter the most. Experiences that we are subject to, not because we seek them out like facts and information, but something that happens to us. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. I want to get into the idea here, just briefly, how this can actually be successfully happening, that under our noses, there is obviously extinctions are being reported even in the mainstream scientific press. These white coats are having to admit that there are major extinctions happening. But my thought is that this is more towards an extermination, meaning that elimination of life for whatever reason. This makes no sense as a human being on the side of this death cult wanting to get rid of everything, like the Nazis wanting to get rid of all the people that don't have blue eyes and blonde hair. Of course, it's totally irrational, but there you go. It happens. Now, why is this occurring? This is what I'm curious about, and this is when I comment, what I talk about, and that is a population is willing to accept anything that is forced on them, or that they are manipulated in some form or other to accept something that they know to be untrue or doesn't make sense. And why is it that a population? Why do I accept something without a sense of curiosity whether it's true or not? I think this is very important to verify things. And why is it that it's so easy just to dispense information to a population, say, hey, the alert was a mistake? And my conclusion is that on the whole, people are not inspired. There's a profound sense of despair in people's lives from the point of view that there is very little inspiration. There is nothing that motivates a person to have this inner sense of curiosity, which comes from what I believe to be inspiration. And what is inspiration in essence? Inspiration is as we exist, as we perceive, as we use our senses, we take something in. This is inexplicable. It's a mystery. It's how we respond to something. We take things in. It's mysterious how that inner functioning works. And something is transformed within us. We observe something. Let's say in the case of beauty, everyone has some kind of experience or sense of something that is absolutely beautiful. A red cardinal, like a few mornings ago in the whiteness of the snow and the cold, a red cardinal lands on a tree. And the bleakness of this environment is totally lit up by this red bird that's sitting on a tree looking for the seeds that Maria put out, knowing there are seeds, there's food. But anyway, this sense of the gratitude I felt of having been exposed that morning before I came to the studio to see this, have this experience of this bright red bird sitting right outside my window in a bleak, cold, wintry day, is I internalize something. And I can spend time explaining it. I usually make paintings that reflect an aspect of this inspiration. It can be an uplifting thing, or it can actually be a very judgmental, negative thing almost. It's like I can be inspired on both ends, where I feel very critical of something, or I'm abhorred by something. It's also related to inspiration. It's kind of like Goya's dark paintings. They're inspiring, they're very brutal and difficult to look at, but this is an element in us, in humanity, that has somehow diminished for whatever reason. I think it's over a long period of time. I'm talking hundreds, maybe even millennia, where this aspect in us has been continuously suppressed. We keep it alive in pockets, but it has essentially disappeared. And what happens when we feel inspired, that internal metamorphosis, that internal revolution happens and creates conviction. It creates strength of character. Someone who has not experienced inspiration can also rarely be happy. There is no happiness in life. And like Lonnie Clark says, happiness is resistance. I believe this is true. But what is happiness? You can't just sort of put something out, oh, be happy. Well, happy is probably something that it requires a person to be mindful, reflect, look out, and internalize. It's this whole process of that inner and outer world somehow coming together as Jesus quote, the quote on Jesus, the kingdom of heaven is within, whatever that might be that we aspire to, this kingdom of heaven. So my thoughts on this, I'll end it here. I've said everything I wanted to say almost, but this is so important. These nuclear criminals are able to function at will. Disasters can happen and nobody will care. Nobody will care. And I say, not even from the point of view that we hold them accountable to at least have some person come out that is qualified to have an assessment to say unequivocally, yes, this did not occur, or if whatever did occur, this is what happened. We don't get this. We don't get this. So the fact information isn't even coming out. And even if it did, what I'm saying is it wouldn't matter because people have signed off on life in some fundamental way because there's no inspiration. And inspiration is basically the source of everything that makes us go. What the Packlets in Star Trek, I used to watch Star Trek. I love the Packlets. We like things that make us go. I like things that make me go. What makes me go? I'm inspired. So this is my There was an alert. There was a credible event did occur, in my opinion. I think something really did happen. And listen to Durnford's presentation. I'll create a link, and hopefully this makes sense to people in terms of transcending away from this YouTube fact-based thing or just mindless decorations and entertainment on this platform. This platform is so pathetic to me now. There's very little. I'm fed up with all the information and all the facts that are being fed to us, and I'm looking for that spirit in a person. I'm looking for something, whatever comes out of their mouth is irrelevant to me. Especially, I was just listening to this Apotheosis Ken guy, the photographic guy, Fujifilm man, who's talking about the nature of the universe, and he's giving a whole set of word noise to what it is or what it isn't. The atomist view of the world, or the wave view of the world, or whatever modalities he's going into. And what I find so hilarious is the guy is actually very entertaining, and he presents us with an alternate view of the universe, but ultimately it's just another bunch of words that make no sense, essentially. We need to experience. We need to be on the ground floor of experiencing reality through being inspired. That's what I feel. That's what I say. So the nuclear death cult gets away with everything because they know they have suppressed this part in us fundamentally. Not they, but over a long period of time, this aspect in us has been suppressed, manipulated to the point where, we pretend maybe we are happy or inspired about stuff, but really not. We're not getting it. We're not getting it. So that's why they get away with it. That's my thought. A dangerous event happened in Pickering, and will continue to happen with all the nuclear plants. This is dreadful. This is horrible, and we could prevent this very quickly if we allowed ourselves to be inspired.